There's a moment many seniors eventually experience that younger people rarely think about. It's the moment they stop looking ahead and start looking back at the years they rushed through, the people they lost touch with, the chances they postponed, the stress they carried for things that no longer seem important. And for many older adults, that reflection changes everything. Because after decades of living, many begin to realize that life wasn't shaped only by the big decisions. It was shaped by the small habits, quiet priorities ignored warnings, and ordinary moments they once assumed would always be there. That's why so many seniors say the hardest part of aging isn't wrinkles or slowing down, it's seeing certain truths clearly. For the very first time, after most of life has already passed. Some lessons come from success. Others come from loss, regret, loneliness, illness, broken relationships, or simply the realization that time moves much faster than anyone expects. And the people who've lived the longest often end up saying the same thing. If they could go back, there are things they would value very differently. Point 1, being busy every day can slowly disconnect you from what truly matters. One lesson many seniors learn too late is that being constantly busy is not the same thing as living a meaningful life. For years, many people stay trapped in survival mode. Without even realizing it, they wake up early, rush through the day, handle responsibilities, solve problems, pay bills, answer messages, and keep telling themselves they'll slow down someday in the future. Someday when work becomes less stressful. Someday when there's more money saved. Someday when life finally feels stable. But for many older adults, that someday arrived much later than expected. And when they finally had the free time they once dreamed about, they realized something uncomfortable. They had spent most of their healthiest years emotionally distracted from their own lives. Many seniors say they can barely remember entire periods of adulthood because every day felt the same. The years blended together. They were physically present, but mentally somewhere else, worrying about tomorrow, chasing goals, or carrying stress that now feels meaningless. What they miss most usually isn't luxury or status. It's ordinary moments they failed to appreciate while they were happening. Simple dinners with family, laughing with old friends, hearing their children call for them from another room, having enough energy to wake up pain-free, visiting parents before those visits became impossible. A lot of older adults admit they assumed those moments would always be there. And because of that assumption, they treated them like background noise, instead of realizing they were the real substance of life itself. That realization hits hard later in life. Because eventually, people discover that achievements create memories, for a moment but meaningful relationships. And everyday experiences are what stay in the heart the longest. And many seniors wish they had understood that before spending decades rushing through the very life they were trying so hard to build. Point 2, health is often taken for granted until it starts limiting you. Another lesson many seniors talk about is how easily health gets ignored in younger years. When people are young, the body feels reliable. Sleep can be sacrificed, meals can be skipped, stress can be pushed aside, and recovery feels quick because of that. Many assume their body will always keep up with whatever demands they place on it, but over time, that illusion slowly changes. Many older adults describe reaching a point where they first notice that energy doesn't return as easily as before. Small aches become more noticeable. Rest takes longer to feel effective, and the lifestyle choices that once felt harmless start to show their consequences. What makes this lesson difficult is not just physical change, but realization. The realization that health is not something that waits. While life is busy, many seniors reflect on years spent prioritizing work, deadlines over sleep, convenience over nutrition, and stress over recovery, not because they didn't care, but because everything else felt more urgent at the time. Later in life, the priority shifts completely. Simple things become valuable again. Being able to walk comfortably, having enough energy for daily tasks, sleeping without interruption, eating without discomfort, these become meaningful wins rather than background expectations. And many seniors quietly admit that they didn't appreciate their health when it was effortless, only when it became something they had to actively protect. Point 3. Relationships fade quietly when they are not maintained. Many seniors also learn that relationships do not usually end in dramatic moments. Most of the time, they fade quietly. People get busy, messages are delayed. Calls become less frequent. Meetups are postponed, and over time, distance becomes normal. Years later, many older adults look back and realize that some of the most important people in their life slowly became strangers not because of conflict, but because of neglect. What surprises many seniors is how easy it is to assume there will always be time to reconnect later. But life rarely works that way. People move, change, get older, or simply drift in different directions. And what was once a close bond becomes a memory that feels harder to rebuild than expected. This is why many seniors say they wish they had put more effort into staying connected even in small ways. A short message, a quick call, a simple check, and things that seem minor in the moment, but become meaningful over time. Because later in life, it is not the intensity of relationships that people remember most, it is their consistency. Point 4. Money feels different when time becomes limited. A common reflection among seniors is how their relationship with money changes as they age. When younger, money often feels like the main measure of progress. It represents stability, success, and freedom. People work hard to earn it, save it, grow it, and protect it. But later in life, many realize that money alone does not automatically translate into fulfillment. What matters more is how time was spent. While earning it, many seniors reflect on years of choosing overtime over rest or delaying experiences until financially perfect conditions arrived. And while financial security is important, they often realize that time itself was the more limited resource. In older age, priorities shift again. Comfort becomes more valuable than accumulation. Peace becomes more valuable than pressure. And time with loved ones becomes more valuable than constant productivity. This shift is not about rejecting money, but about understanding its limits. Because money can support life, but it cannot replace time already spent. Point 5. Waiting for the right time often means missing the present. Many seniors also talk about how often they postponed things in life waiting for the right age. The right job, the right financial situation, the right moment when life felt less complicated. But looking back, many realize that life rarely becomes perfectly convenient. There is always something demanding attention, always something unfinished, always a reason to wait, and in many cases, waiting becomes a habit that quietly delays the very experiences people value most. Later in life, many realize that some of their best opportunities were not missed because they were impossible, but because they were postponed too long. Point 6. Stress becomes less important than it feels in the moment. Another reflection many seniors share is how large small problems feel at the time they happen. Work pressure, financial stress, social expectations, and daily conflicts often feel overwhelming in the moment. But with distance, many of these situations lose their emotional weight. What felt like life-changing stress at 30 often becomes a minor memory at 70. This shift in perspective is something many seniors wish they had understood earlier, not to ignore responsibilities, but to avoid letting temporary pressure take away long-term peace. In the end, most of these lessons aren't about regret. They're about clarity, because the more time passes, the more obvious it becomes. Life was never meant to be rushed, postponed, or lived only for someday. It was meant to be noticed while it's happening.